Afternoon and welcome back to America's Workforce, broadcast from Ohio for workers around the entire world, and it's archived on awfradio.com. Let's go to line number 2. Welcome back to the show. Daniel DeVerna of Creative Financial Partners. Got to do the disclosure real quick. Dan is a registered representative and investment advisor representative offering securities and investment advisory services solely through the Emeritus Investment Corporation, AIC. Is a registered broker-dealer, member, FINRA, SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. AIC, by the way, is not affiliated with Creative Financial Partners. Additional products and services may be available through Daniel DeVerna or Creative Financial Partners that are not offered through AIC. Representatives of AIC do not provide tax or legal advice, so please consult your tax advisor or attorney regarding your circumstances. Hey, Dan, welcome back to the show. Thanks once again for joining us today.
Good to be here.
Today, we're going to take a look at long-term care and life insurance. And if you've done any searching on the internet, boy, there's a lot out there. What kinds of life insurance are we talking about? What's available today, Dan?
Well, you've got really, if I was going to oversimplify this, which I'm going to try to do, you'd say there are two basic kinds. And the first on the life insurance side is term insurance. And I'll break that into two categories, and we're probably all pretty familiar with it. The first is I'm working for these guys, and while I'm working for them, they're going to have some life insurance that they cover me with for my family. And that's a version of term insurance. The term ends when I don't work for them anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's the first one. The second would be a term insurance that I buy on my own, and that says, hey, I'm like in my instance, I'm 46 years old. I could use $500,000 worth of life insurance. You hear the commercials all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you're 46, non-smoker. You can get $500,000 of life insurance for $45 a month. And so that's a situation where if I die anywhere in that period that they've given me for that term, then my family gets a pretty significant death benefit. The numbers say I shouldn't die in that period, so it's pretty inexpensive. If I outlive that, then I got to pay that money to sleep at night, kind of like driving your car and having car insurance.
Right.
So that's the term insurance side. On the other side, the cash value style of insurance is most people kind of call it whole life, although it's evolved a lot like that or since then. The idea with permanent insurance, it's evolved really like cars. I mean, if you line up a 65 Mustang, an 85 Mustang, and a 2018 19, they're going to get a lot different gas mileage. In the newer version of the Mustang, I think it's like 30-some miles a gallon. And so life insurance is a lot like that. We're having people live so much longer that these life insurance policies are much more efficient, and the cost of insurance has actually never been lower. So that's kind of a good thing. But the idea with the permanent insurance is they cost a little more, but the intention there is that they'll be around when you actually die, which, I always brag about my grandpa driving around the Grand Marquis. He's 94 years old. I have every expectation I'll be doing the same thing.
There you go.
Maybe I'll be driving my F-150 still. I don't know exactly, but we'll play that by ear. But I got a little bit of time. But my expectations are to live long like that, and so the permanent insurance would give me a situation where I'd have some still.
Now with whole life though, doesn't it go up as you age on some of those policies?
Some of the policies do, and a lot of the policies that we'll use, I'll go into two parts to it. Will sometimes pay a little bit more so that it's a level premium, and we like to have people not have to pay for these things in retirement.
Uh-huh.
So oftentimes we'll have them be a little front-loaded while we're still working and making a little bit more money, and then we can kind of shut the spigot off and not worry about it later.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
The other thing which should be pointed out, which is an extremely new addition, this is brand new, to most of us here in the United States, and that is that much of the death benefit on the newer versions of permanent life insurance, now the death benefit can be used in advance to your death if you need for long-term care issues. So this is new. It's been one of the biggest kind of revolutionary. I mean, I know it's not the most exciting topic, but the biggest problem that people have had, and we've had it in my own personal family, is families trying to take care of their own, but then it getting to the point where you just can't do it anymore.
Right.
You know, my grandmother lived with us for a little while, and it was really tough. My mom and dad were both still working. My grandma was not healthy, and she fell and broke her hip. And it's pretty tough to see that happen. It's pretty tough to be a part of that. And eventually, Grandma had to go to a home. And had we had the resources or something like this to be able to help pay for some of that, we might have been able to have somebody there at our home or at my parents' home to help take care of her. But we really didn't have a situation where we could do that. So some of these newer versions of these policies give us some advantages that really weren't around even 3-4 years ago.
So that's connected with life insurance. Is there another way to get long-term care? Would that be like a separate policy for individuals?
Yeah. The other is a more typical standard long-term care policy, which would be there's 6 activities of daily living. I'm not going to bore you with them, but things like transferring, toileting, eating, things like that. And if you have a couple of those that you can't do, you'll qualify. The problem is this is such a big problem. People are living longer. All of the medical elements have given us the capacity to live a much longer life, but not necessarily at a higher quality.
Right.
So we've got so many people in a situation, everyone knows somebody. I mean, if it's not your family, it will be. And if it's not your family now, it's one of your friends, and everybody's seen these situations. We're all familiar, and it's really tough to think about our close to us loved ones having a situation like that. We'd love to have that type of insurance. The problem is it is so expensive.
Very much so.
I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars every year, and if you don't use it and the person just passes, which is what we all hope, right? Mm-hmm. You never really got anything for it.
Exactly. And you know what I keep saying? I don't know how people's relationships are with their kids. Sometimes they don't even talk to their kids. I do everything to sweet talk my kids, take care of my kids, because I'm thinking someday down the road I'm going to need their help, you know?
Yeah. Well, the struggle is real. There's no question. That's a real issue. You know, we joke about it a little bit in my family with my father-in-law. Yeah. And I said, listen, I don't know. The way he treats me, I'm not sure what kind of care he's going to get from me, you know?
Yeah, well, I keep telling him, I used to change your diapers. Pretty soon you'll be changing mine, you know?
Yeah, it happens.
It happens.
We're all familiar.
It's a daily occurrence the
parent becomes the child.
Yeah, not just in this country, but all around the world where we're seeing that happen. So there's the bottom line is there's a lot of options out there, and it's important that you get educated on these issues. If you missed anything, it's all contained in the book, Retirement is Just the Beginning, The Union Worker's Guide to Constructing a Retirement Strategy. We should plug your website, too. It's DanDeVerna.com, DanDeVerna.com. I would take it that, and I haven't checked your website, but I imagine a lot of the information that we talk to our listeners about is posted on your website as well?
Absolutely. A lot of the information's there. You have access to the books. We can, with anybody that wants to have hey, I have a question, they can get in touch with me with that. Yeah, it's pretty highly functional for kind of filling in the blanks. And again, we're extremely familiar with kind of the union platform and the setup and the options and how this pertains to union folks in particular.
Yeah, and it's important, too, and this is posted right on the back of the book, union workers are focused on their careers and families. They're not looking at retirement. They're busy. They're busy raising their families. So this is a way to get educated on that issue, because there's going to come a time in your life where you say, you know what? I'm going to wrap up this career. I'm going to try to spend some time maybe in another location. You just got to plan for that day in your life, and that's what this is all about. DanDeVerna.com, DanDeVerna. Next month, let's talk about pension options. Can we do that, Dan?
fantastic.
Good stuff. Once again, our financial planner, Dan DeVerna, a registered representative and investment advisor representative, offering securities and investment advisory services solely through the Emeritus Investment Corporation. Well, that's another edition of America's Workforce behind us. Coming up tomorrow, we have our segment with Working Class Perspectives. Sherry Lincoln will be joining us, and the latest from the United Steelworkers. Until then, all of you have a wonderful day.